Hello and herzlich willkommen zum Auf die Fresse, the wXw review podcast in English. It's been a while. I'm Ian Hamilton, joined as always by Mike Kilby and Mike. We're about a week and a half away from the final shows for 25th anniversary tour. 4 shows live streamed, 4 more being dropped in piecemeal form from East Germany. It's been a busy couple of months for wXw. So how have you been going along?
Yeah, it's been good fun. It's been some good shows. Sort of the premium events have been have been really good, as well as they've been dropping like little crumbs of sort of fun matches every couple of weeks. So yeah, it's been a good month for wXw, I think.
And they've been very active. I mean, it's been a few months now. We've been dropping blast from past matches on social media on Friday, and they've been bleeding into the intermission feeds and what have you. But yeah, we've had shows in Bielefeld, Frankfurt, Peer and Hamburg. They were live streamed on wXw Now and mostly on Triller as well. Had that swing was in East Germany, where I think to a lot of people's surprise, we had a tag title change, which we'll get to as we go through the shows in vaguely chronological order. But yeah, we're not going to go through every show, every match, because one, they haven't released everything, but two, I think a lot of stuff here, it's story threads which have some have already kind of paid off, some which are still in the process. But we will start where all good stories start, in imaginary towns. Bielefeld in October. I think this was the one that kicked off the 25th anniversary too. I think it's the first show since Pro Wrestling Grand Prix. I mean, that feels like an absolute age ago. So we're going to blitz through this. Undercard, Mecca and Kuro over Alexander Bellamy and Norman Harris. Dennis Dullnig retaining the shotgun belt over Yokai. M4 getting his first win, beating Rob Drake, and I don't think we've seen M4 since, so monkey off his back there. Peter Tihanyi squashing Con Kelly in 4 minutes. We're giving what's the team called? Roadkill, Con Kelly and Aaron. They finally get gear, but I think they're very much bottom of the cards, at least in this particular iteration. Uhura over Zoltan. Madsen Marley, they've had the spotlight on her throughout this whole tour. She beat Reika. Aaliyah Bloom over Bobby Guns. And main event in Bielefeld, Robert Dreisker, Mark Empire, retaining the wXw tag titles over the Grind. And again, this one, I think a lot of the Grind storyline has been Nick Schreier getting, hoisted by his own petard, so to speak.
Yeah.
Getting a bit over exuberant. This was, the first show since Pro Wrestling Grand Prix weekend where he was, Little Spike Dudley for, the Dudley Boys, Planet Gojira. Got a little bit, ECW happy bringing tables out and ended up going for one en route to the loss, which, yeah, that seems to be the common thread. Nick Schreier, whether he means to or not, costing his team. But yeah, Gojira and the Grind, very much a very strong thread throughout all these shows. But without going into too much, Bielefeld sold enough, but maybe one, if you were going to skip one of these 4 live streams, probably the one you would skip if you were playing catch up.
Yeah, I think there's sort of 3 matches which I would sort of flag as sort of worth your time. I think Zoltan Uhura was good fun. Bloom Guns I thought was really good actually for their sort of standard. It was sort of very, very competent match, and let's say the main event, the tag team title match, I think they're the ones that I would be picking on out of any of the matches on these shows.
I think for me, the Uhura Zoltan one kind of played a little bit too much into that aloof side of Uhura, where, and storyline wise, you can take some people a little too lightly. But when he's in the middle of this big push to the title, it's like, I get you doing that, and I get you pushing Zoltan as the next big thing in the future. But when you're just coming, your first match since winning, the Koenig to Catcher, and you're kind of stumbling over the line against, all due respect, Zoltan. Match was fine, but I think booking decision maybe not the wisest choice. I mean, it's one of those things. It's going to be an absolute moot point in 2 weeks' time, you'd expect, but at the time I just felt it was a bit of a weird one. You've got, I know you don't want to have him be the Superman kind of character where nothing can beat him, but at the same time, maybe was it very subtlety hammer, they call it, maybe going a bit too hard on that front. But yeah, so we had Bielefeld, and I'm not going to go through all the shotgun vlogs, but one of the tidbits coming out of the post-Bielefeld vlog was something about Alex Duke making his return. So he's been out since, was it, since the summer, I think it is, with a shoulder injury, because they did the whole thing where they, quote-unquote, sold the tag title reign to Anil Marek before Norman and Marek lost the belts. And the whole thing was, Alex Duke's coming back, but he's got a brand new partner. Ended up being Alexander Bellamy, and the awful, shittiest name I've seen since. I mean, this wouldn't be out of place in like the early 2010s to wXw with all the wacky team names. 10 out of 10 next level. What?
Yeah, it's not exactly sure what they were going for with that, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see them maybe taking Bellamy away from Norman. I mean, Norman, don't I like Norman in a tag, but I think equally there's a lot of value in him sort of going as a singles But like Bellamy, Duke, and Norman, if that ends up being some form of feud, that's three very dislikable people, isn't it?
Yeah, we all lose. But I mean, what I would say was, this wasn't I'll say WWE, I mean, I don't follow, but like the kind of, sudden change. Like in the shotgun vlogs, I mean, heck, since, even Pro Wrestling Grand Prix, the whole story there was Norman was letting Alexander Bellamy do all the work. I mean, was it the Metahan and Rambo tag match, one of the Wheel of Wrestlings? Harris didn't even tag in. So a lot of that's just been Norman with the superiority complex, belittling Bellamy. So yeah, of course he's going to leave him first chance he could get. But yeah, I think maybe the workshopping on the team name, but is what it is, I suppose. Elsewhere in Frankfurt, we had the wXw debut of Alan Angels. I guess most famously, was he 5 in the Dark Order?
One of the Dark Order, yeah.
He did the European tour. He did stuff with Rev Pro, a couple of promotions. He was brought in for Hitman by Robin Christopher Forver against Lee Bloom. Didn't really pan out here.
No.
A decent opener, but again, I think with Alan Angels, he was one of those guys you can bring in to, take a fall, and for Lee Bloom. While he's not so much in the title picture right now, and there's bits and pieces we can touch on when we do the big wrap up, they're keeping him strong, and that's the one big thing throughout this tour is Bloom, was a runner up in Koenig to catch up, but he's not exactly being phased into the background. One called Manders beating Shigehiro Irie. This was an absolute crack, like my kind of wrestling.
Yep.
And the whole thing they were doing was for Manders, his return was meant to be, I'm going through all of the champions I can. Well, didn't have that many, but it was a damn good match with Irie, and I'm hoping someone somewhere. I mean, not got limited dates for he's back in the States, but I hope someone somewhere in the UK can run this back pretty quickly, because even if it's just as a spot show, a placeholder in the card, it's a pretty damn good match to run back. Ave Everett beating Madison Marley, I think that's another one where the feud who had Jay Nero, going back and forth, we've been interfering in each other's matches. So, Madison Marley lost via interference, and spoiled that's a match for, I believe it's coming Sunday in Berlin for GWF, as well as Oberhausen the following weekend. Copy of homework, lads, eh? But yeah, it's good to see Ave Everett back, although no longer doing the old Y2 cutie thing. Was back to the yield, was it art with the original entrance video. So we had another go around with Plan Gojira and the Grind. This time we want a clean match. We want to no shenanigans. And then Robert Dreisker wins by virtually stripping Nick Shriver's tights with a roll-up, which I think he kind of suspects something's going on when Schreier went back to the the standard tights, not the trunks rather than long tights. But again, a good match, but I think at this point now it's getting a little bit bored, maybe isn't the word, but it's a little bit, hey, can we have something different? Like, there are other tag teams here, and yeah, there are more tag teams we'll see in the East Germany swingwear. Dennis Dullnig retaining shotgun belt over Zoltan. pretty run-of-the-mill stuff. The post-match was Dullnig attacking Zoltan, beating security men, threatening to whip him. Irie made the save, which bled into a match for Hamburg. Who against Dieter Schwartz, big win for who there. But actually, I know this isn't like one of the bullet points, but Dieter Schwartz on this particular one of shows. I mean, he's still waiting for that big win, but my God, he's doing a lot in defeating these matches.
Yeah, he's my unsung hero of the tour. I think all of the Schwartz matches there's been obviously quite a few sort of uploaded, and all of the Dieter Schwartz matches I've just tried to watch because they've generally been very good. He's sort of taking the ball and running with it a little bit. He's a useful person to have around because he's improving, I think, with every match. But yeah, he's had some really, really good opportunities this past month, and he's really running with them.
I was just clicking through on his cage match, and I thought, oh, he's a new fella. No, he was in Next Step in 2017, which I think it's one of those classic cases.
I think I've probably seen it.
Yeah, I think it's one of those classic cases for, I think it was Detty Black was the name he used to work under. But again, one of those cases, kind of like with Lawrence Roman, I say toiling away, but you know what I mean, like he's working with the undercard in promotions most people wouldn't necessarily follow, and it's been a repackage and a whole new look, so to speak, that's really clicked. I mean, I keep making a comparison. He's like a German Tracy Williams. Back when the hot sauce, when catch point was a thing, doing the ground-based wrestling, but it's not just the what we used to call the grapple fuck style, where it's just being ground-based wrestling for the sake of it. Obviously did have the run, with KXS over Person Grand Prix weekend. It would not surprise me if he was a bit of a dark horse character. I don't mean like going the distance or anything close to that. But it would not surprise me if he had a breakout next March, over whether it be names we'll mention later on, or something like even can't even say Winning Ambition because that's not a thing anymore. But certainly do something over Carrot Weekend where he'll break out from the pack.
Yeah, well, I just looked on my on Eurograps.com, which still exists. The review of Next Step Wrestling 2018, Open Air 2018, I did review a Detty Black versus Matthias Bernstein match. So that's a blast from the past, isn't it? But...
Oh yeah, the guy who gave up germophobia just as COVID came in. Great timing.
Yeah. So I have seen I saw a Dieter Schwartz match back all that time ago.
Same card, I had Cade match on, but the same card. Killer Kelly and Lawrence Roman against the Alpha Lovers. That's a couple of blasts from the past there, but
it was actually a really good match, really good fun show actually. That open air show, so it's worth a watch if you. Well, I don't think it exists anymore. I think it was on the old WXW now, probably not anywhere anymore, but.
Yeah, maybe on some random Russian streaming platform if someone's backed it up, but. We're getting a lot more of these where, streaming platforms disappear and there's a lot of stuff just gets lost to the ether, but such is life, I guess.
It's like Lucha Forever doesn't exist anymore.
I think so.
Anywhere anymore.
Yeah, no, Progress had it, but as they just relaunched their streaming platform and without the Progress name anywhere in it, which tells you what they think of a brand name in 2025 going into 26. But it's not the complete Lucha Forever, it's Lucha Forever Highlights, which I think on the last platform is like 3 shows. That's where you get when you can't pirate off Pivot Chair, I guess. But and going back to Frankfurt, Peter Tihanyi against Joseph Hennick Jr.'s main event. As Tihanyi, I guess, putting the ghosts of High Perform Limited to bed. Again, decent match, but was one of those where you never really thought a title change was coming, which tends to be a lot of things for us. Not like the Challenge of the Month kind of matches, but the kind of matches where the result is
there's a wider thing at play.
Yeah. But post-match, he had Manders coming out saying he's going to go for his rematch with Tihanyi, but it's going to be the Marktal. Then Hua came out basically saying he's going to take his shot at the 25th anniversary show on December 13th. So 2 big title matches, but both be for Peter Tihanyi. We'll find out. But After that, we had in the following weekend, was it 4 shows in East Germany? Now, none of these were live streamed, which at the time surprised me because the big thing on there was uh, Greedy Souls getting their World Tag Title shot. And thought, well,
Yeah.
surely at least one of these shows is going to be streamed live, but nope. What they did do, to the credit, Mark and the whole WXW video team, that match, which was main event in Leipzig on the Sunday night, by Monday evening, so not even 24 hours, that was up for free on WXW now. So, there's buzz out there, to some degree on the Sunday night, and not even 24 hours later, that match was out there for you to see outside the paywall. So, I think that's maybe the thing we're trying to do is, to heck with trying to get, Met or whoever in a broom cupboard to do commentary. Just get the match out there, raw, get it out. If it's got big storyline implications, then get commentary on it at some point. But just get the content out there if you're not going to be doing it in the full polished version. Which, hey, quick turnaround. You've got to strike while the iron's hot. But a couple of quick beats from those shows. Now they have released a bunch of matches for free on the paywall, so
I can flag two which were certainly worth your time. Manders Zoltan was good. Our friend Toby was at that show in Magdeburg, and he said it was excellent. I think it was probably one of them matches that if I'd been in the room, I would have gone way higher on it. But it was sort of good stuff anyway. The other one I would also go for is also from Magdeburg, is Dennis Dullnig versus Ahura. That was also a really good fun match. Likewise, I think if I'd been in the room, I probably would have gone a lot higher, but it was some really good. Those were two good ones from that little weekend that I would say is worth catching.
Yeah, I've got a bit for backlog to catch, but free on WXW now. Got Greedy Souls versus Planet Kojiro, saved for the tag title match from Leipzig. Got Greedy Souls against KXS from Gotha. Cash against Ahura, that one was from Magdeburg, just said. Manda Zoltan. Peter Tihanyi against Axman from Limbach Oberfrona. Lucille Lee against Madison Marley, again from Limbach. Metahan against Cash from Limbach. Manders Metahan from Leipzig. Cash versus Lee Bloom from Leipzig again. And then I think, was it after that, they've put stuff up very, very recently from Bad Sackingen. And this one, they just put one file up, and it's Irie Dieter Schwartz, Kemp against Lee Bloom, and the grind against Joseph Fennick and Ricky Sosa. So, yeah, I think I've got a fair amount to catch up on there. But yeah, so obviously, big talking point was from Leipzig, Greedy Souls beating Planet Kojiro to win the tag titles. Interference from McGrind, because why the heck not? But yeah, Greedy Souls still undefeated. I guess a misrun in WXW anyway. They left Leipzig for champions and rolled into Hamburg the following week. So this was the double header in Hamburg, night one the Marktal, night two in the Grunschbahn. Start off pre-show, Madison Marley beating Stephanie Mays, and I know a few people watching this live in some of the Discords I was in. Mays losing raised quite a few eyebrows, but it's like, Stephanie Mays, WXW, I guess,
There's
right?
Not much for it.
Yeah, like they don't have a de facto women's division. Like, this whole shotgun belt is intergender, and I guess all of the titles are technically intergender. But right now, there's nothing really for the women's division to play for. So Stephanie Mays is, I guess, a credible pinch, if you want to phrase it that way. And again, this is another one, Jay Neal getting involved. It's a constant thread. Main show, Leon Slater beating Dieter Schwartz in 11 minutes. Again, a cracker of an opening match. And again, this is just as good for me on making Dieter look good as it was Leon Slater enhancing himself. A very rare European date for Leon. He's been more commonly seen on NXT these days, which may be a bit of a hat tip for the future. But yeah, and I think this, that match when it was Leon against, all due respect, a relatively unknown on the WXW roster in Schwartz, but you had the that power crowd being really hot, you knew you're going to be in for a good night just on the crowd side of things.
Yeah, I think all in all the Hamburg the Hamburg sort of show probably one of the strongest shows I think wXw's had outside the weekenders this year. I feel like there was a lot of quality sort of from the start, and it was ascending quality as the show went on, for sure, for me.
Next, we had Ahura beating Bobby Guns. Again, it's another one where, last year Ahura was getting a lot of these wins under the radar. This year, very much in plain sight. And I think this is more Ahura getting Bobby Guns begrudging respect rather than a win for the sake of it. But again, another really strong match. Heck, it was one of the second match on the main show.
It was sort of two black hats sort of firing off each other, really, in a way, wasn't it? It was the well, I mean, in fairness, they should have a lot of respect for each other because they were in a faction together, and but equally, there's a lot of they're both rogues, aren't they? So like that's why they're it was a good sort of there was the attempted sort of aggro at the end, and then it was sort of turned into begrudging respect, didn't it?
Yeah, remember the days of the shisha lounges in the old Steffi.
Yeah.
Next up, we had Dani Luna beating Miyu Yamashita in both their wXw debut. Well, not Miyu's debut, but certainly Dani's debut. This one I was very uncertain about. Like, there's a spell in the middle I was thinking, like, oh God, do we really need to go there? But by the end, it rounded off. I've noticed in a lot of Yamashita's matches in Europe, she tends to like, spilling into the crowd, which, in the Marktal is very, can be an unwise choice, especially if you're doing it aimlessly. Like, was it early in the year we had Roman and Dreisker, and it was like going into the crowd so they could blade and, get plundered. This was just, roaming around the crowd and, hope you don't wipe out people. I mean, this was one, like, I came into this with, I don't say low expectations, because obviously they're both really good. Dani especially has had a heck of a year in the, unfortunately, soon-to-be mothballed Deadlock Pro, but this one, this caught me completely by surprise.
Yeah, it was. I thought this was really good stuff. There was a lot of. It wasn't quite as good as the match from the following day, but it was sort of a good value performance from Dani, because Dani's not really signed at the moment, is she?
I don't know what her TNA status is. I know she's still peas there, but again, TNA getting that new deal, maybe there's a bunch of deals they
maybe
renew.
Does complicate things.
I know certainly, it has certainly caused issues, if you want to put your tinfoil hat on with Rev Pro, because they've teased her and Mercedes Moné a few times and it's gone nowhere. You could only assume that is because of, contractual stuff. I know Dani had, at least for a spell, relocated to the States, so you'd think, either she's flush or she's certainly under contract, because you wouldn't relocate to Florida or certainly to the States if you weren't. So, but yeah, I mean, this is one, Dani Luna, it's, this is the first weekend in. I don't think she's got anything announced for anniversary, so I don't know if this is like playing a long game. Maybe she's going to be, another name for Carrot, but certainly as a debut weekend was a heck of a way to mark your arrival for those who hadn't heard of her through independent stuff elsewhere.
Yeah, it was really, really good stuff.
Dennis Dullnig retaining the shotgun belt over Shigehiro Irie. So this for one where Dullnig's getting this new wrinkle now of trying to find a way to cheat before the bell. I think what's he doing now? He's like chucking the shotgun belt up in the air for referee to catch, and then while he's distracted, punting Irie in the balls. There's a lot of like good classic heel stuff from Dullnig where it's just. It's not the I'm doing my old stuff, but I'm doing it for scalp because I'm a bad guy. It's a lot of cheating, a lot of taking shortcuts, and it is getting the crowd wound up, which is what you want out of a bad guy.
Yeah, it was. I think there was a lot of. Dullnig's kind of had, as I say, he's had quite a good sort of tour. I mentioned the match he had with Metehan on thing, and this was a lot of the similar sort of stuff. I think it was the they didn't really have sort of a lot for Irie over these 2 days, but this was. I mean, it was there was a point where I did bite on Irie winning,
Yeah.
and then it wasn't quite enough, and that was quite frustrating. But hey, you never know. There's always time.
I mean, to be fair for Irie, he's one of those where he's been in long enough, often enough to be that spot where he could get the upset win, especially because he's in for extra dates. It's not like, oh, I'm only in for Hamburg and then who knows when
Yeah.
I'm back. But next up, we had a three-way for the World Tag title. So originally this was the Grind versus the Greedy Souls. Originally non-title because the Greedy Souls had won the belts, then it became a title match. Then in the pre-show, Planet Kojima, who I think were eating their packed lunch, talked their way into getting a shot. This one, so as a match, absolutely fantastic. Like, this wasn't like your typical three-way, tag match where people's it's just stuff all over the place. Finish of this, I know you loved. I absolutely adored this, and then I watched it back, and I wish I hadn't because I've tarnished it. So, finish was at the end. And you get like the blind tags all over the place and played in here. It was down to Dreisker and Roman. So it's down to Brendan White and Lawrence Roman. Roman got bumped into the Greedy Souls corner. It was a tag into the Kojima corner. Dreisker blind tagged in. Referee saw, but then referee continued to check on Roman as he had Brendan in a crossface, which, okay. Then Dreisker snuck in an ankle lock. Referee goes, oh yeah, you're the legal man. Brendan tapped. And because because Dreisker's legal man, his submission counted, I guess. Roman didn't know that. He thought he'd won, but then Plankajira won, got the belts. Loved the finish, but I wished I hadn't watched it back because just seeing that split second where it was
Schneider.
Alex Schneider. That brief second was like he sees the tag, he acknowledges the tag, then he ignores and just counts, checks from. Are you going to submit to this illegal man? Well, that shouldn't count. But yeah, hell of a finish. I just ruined for myself on the rewatch. But again, in terms of the logic behind it, these are three tag teams. Roman, Dreisker, Brendan White, Danny Jones, guys who students of the game, if you want to use that that cliche, so to speak. But these are guys you would fully trust doing something like this. A finish where you could go, oh, it's a bit hokey, but in this case, write it down what happened, entirely logical, and it wasn't. It wasn't a finish that was drawn out or very coincidental, if you know what I mean. It's it made sense for the way it flowed through.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of echo that. I mean, I did see the same thing you saw, but I hand waved it because ultimately I think in the heat you only notice it when you sort of slow it down and watch it again and again and again. I think it was one of the sort of most innovative finishes. I don't think I've ever seen that finish before. It's unique.
No.
It's not one that's done very often. So, regardless, yeah, brilliant. I thought it was really good. They could have ended the show on that match, to be honest. But,
I mean, typically,
obviously, I know why they didn't, but I think, I thought this is brilliant.
It was typically when we do multi-way tag matches, there's no tags. It's one from each team, which is where it gets a bit, bonkers, it's not into bit of a spot fest. As soon as they did the whole thing where they were enforcing with tags, you knew it wasn't going to be, the popcorn wrestling, so to speak.
I don't think that's necessarily true. I didn't notice that.
I think from the start, what it did was the Greedy Souls didn't want to tag in. That's when he kind of knew it wasn't going to be one from each team like the tornado style. But anyway, main event, one called Manders against Peter Tihanyi. Unfortunately, Manders not regaining the belt. This for one where the main event, and to be fair, the Hamburg crowd was pretty hot for this. But unlike the match in Oberhausen where it was Tihanyi doing it on his own, so to speak, you did have some interference from Vorwerk around there, and yeah, it was one of those that felt that kind of dragged it down for me. It was more of a get rematch off the plate rather than still hanging over everyone's heads kind of finish. But I guess the other thing we probably should bring up, since I only do the match on the matches on the recap sheet, they did a very WWE like contract signing segment earlier on in the show. So they're doing some rewind a bit further. So Shotgun Vlog, they did a bit with Tommy Geeson reading out a letter to Robin Christopher Forwerk, basically saying, the agreement, the contract he had with Tihanyi to not have him wrestle Leah Bloom ever, we agreed to because we felt it was in everyone's everyone's rights. But since then, you've taken a piss with attacking Bloom. You've sent him to hospital. As such, we are not going to renew your manager's license, which kayfabe runs out end of November, but we will let you manage him until the end of the year if you agree to the street fight for Leah Bloom, which, okay, that's a bit long-winded, a bit of a stretch, but hey, it is what it is. So we did a contract signing earlier on in the Marktal, where somehow, despite this being a wXw mandated punishment, Forwerk managed to get something added to the contract where if Bloom touched him, the match would be called off. I want to check your legal team, WXW. Like, if you're doing stuff like this as a punishment, yet somebody else can gazump you and change the terms of the of the forfeit, so to speak. You might want to have a look, see who's going for your legal paper, because there is form in Christ. Norman Harris got himself a title shot in similar circumstance to that. Writing stuff in outside of company guidelines. But yeah, so we're going down that road, and I can only hope, Mike, it is nothing like what we saw with Maggot and Forwerk last year, because if it is, oh boy, it's going to be ugly in the Turbine Hall.
It might be good. You see, like, I was thinking of Harris Guns from Carrot Night 2. Like, if it's like that, it'd be good.
That'd be good. If it's like, I mean,
we need a bit of a Quildenist sort of plunder, and then we'll be all right.
As long as we're not getting, tasked doing the fake boxing, then we'll be fine.
Yeah.
Then the next day, we kept going visit the Grünspan. This was one where I don't say the card was announced, but a lot of it very much felt like after the Lord Mayor shows, like had all the title matches. In the Marktal, this was very much on paper at least, the second night of a Hamburg swing. Manders beating Fast Time Mudo in the pre-show again. It was a win for Manders. We're not doing much with Mudo. I mean, because originally I think on the same show was meant to have been Axeman against Bobby Guns. Tish had nowhere to be seen. So, and I think, I don't know if it's an injury. Tish has been working since, so whether it is a short-term thing. But yeah, it was very much a, get a win for Manders and Mudo. Yeah, your time will be up soon. Leah Bloom beating Dietrich Schwartz again. It was another one where it was a really good match. I mean, I think the Grünspan crowd were getting really behind Dieter for this, which kind of tells you, for someone who, they loved Bloom as well, but, you've got a guy like Schwartz who is so doing the job so well, you get in the crowd, wanting to love him, but not in that sense, like, we want to back him. That might be a tricky line to straddle, but, Schwartz, he's not showing any, apart from the putting up a good fight and coming up short all the time, he's not showing any characteristics which would make you want to cheer him, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I understand what you mean there, yeah.
And then after that,
what I was going to say, and I'm not saying this to just sort of bring him up, but in the same way that, if you think about sort of the rise of Fight Muller, maybe sort of 2018, he was doing very similar stuff, but he was, and the support came quite organically. I do wonder if it's a similar thing is possibly going to happen with Schwartz in that sense.
I would suspect if we were saying like, does he have a breakout run at Carrot? I suspect if he does have that run at Carrot or match at Carrot where he puts up a hell of a fight but just comes up short, that could be the spot. Depends who the opponent would be. But after that, we had another reinforcement over Leah Bloom. You can't touch Robin Christopher Forwerk. in the Marketal, they had Bloom use forward security as a weapon to attack him with. This time we had some weirdness through a pre-tape where, was it, Forwerk signed Leo Bloom's band and he's going to have Bloom's music during just... It's... I don't get it. It just feels like very WWE, like, sports entertainment. Like, I'm going to use your music to antagonize you. Well, whoop.
Yeah, it's a good way of getting a. There's always gonna be like Forwerk is a WWE style character anyway, isn't he? So it kind of makes sense that he would be relying on quite ridiculous means to try and get it upper hand, but it's not working.
I swear to God, if they bring like a midget for mustache, I mean, they already did for fake Leo Bloom, so what am I talking about? But they bring up like a midget for mustache and Balkan, then we know where the influence is coming from. Next up, I had a rematch from Marketal, Stephanie Mays, this time beating Madison Marley. This is another one with Jane Nero interfering, which led to the finish. Lawrence Roman, Nick Schreier beating Metahan and Rambo. Talk about a match to catch you by surprise. I know I was watching this on delay and I saw a tweet by Striggers saying the crowd of a Grunge was really hot for this. And I was thinking, it'll just be, not the ironic stuff, but it'll be, a good crowd. No, this was an actually damn good match considering it was effectively no stakes. Even with Metahan in, I know that's going to come across as being very bitchy, but like Rambo, yet again, the star of that team.
Yeah.
And but I mean, as a match, I enjoyed the heck out of that.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad actually. I think as Metahan sort of matches go, it was pretty good. As I say, like you say, Rambo he's having sort of a late career renaissance, really, isn't he, at the moment?
Yeah, just won the GWF World title as well not too long ago, so he's actually getting hardware to show for it. And yeah, definitely, this one was on. I don't know if this has made its way to Triller. I know the live stream didn't happen live on Triller. I don't know if they've backfilled, but certainly we've got wXw Now membership. It's one of those matches, you can very easily handle it, but well worth hunting down if only just for the crowd responses to it. Danny Luna beating Jane Nero next after that. So this was, I think I put down, this is Jane's biggest test for wXw career. And again, this one where Jane did lose, but this time it was Madison Marley coming out to interfere. So get a bit for your own back on that. But yeah, I think at this point I'm kind of done with these. I'm running in to distract. No, I'm running in distraction. Thankfully, next weekend we're getting the match to end the feud. Was maybe gone one show a bit too long, but got the point over, I guess.
Yeah, it was. The Jane Nero, I think she's probably going to end up having quite a big 2026. I think because they seem to be pushing her sort of in the right direction for that.
I know Rev Pro had designs on using her, but she got injured pretty early on in her debut there.
She was in the she was at that thing with Bailey to that this weekend, wasn't she? This week.
I did see the full.
Yeah, Bailey.
The Lodestone training.
Yeah, so she was there as well as Sapphire Reed and Anita Vaughan were also there. So yeah, there's a lot going on seemingly.
Yeah, I saw that Ford and I've somehow managed to completely miss her being in it.
Yeah, she's at the back.
Yeah, I'm just looking this on Discord now. I'm not saying I don't believe you, but it's more how the heck have I missed her? Yeah, she is. Yeah, I don't know how the heck I missed that. So yeah, again, I think it's one of those. I think they clearly had designs on her for Femme Fatale this year. Because again,
unfortunate. I think
unfortunate the injury, and again. Fact that Sapphire Reed won, but hasn't been booked, and there's not any cards at least at the end of the year. So very clear what the plan. The plan would have been more likely for Jane Neo to win, and then you had a bit more juice on the Madison Marley stuff, other than hey, you've had a tour of Japan, but I run this place kind of thing. But yeah, it's both says there's a feud. It's not one where I'm dreading the payoff match, if that makes sense. Both Marley's shown plenty, Nero's got plenty as well. I mean, she's had a couple of good outings. And we've actually, because it's been it's been played out over several shows. It's not going to be one of these where it's like, oh, you did the build in Frankfurt, and then when we go to Hamburg and nobody's seen it and they don't care. So there should be an interesting payoff as well. Next, we had Dennis Dullnig beating Bobby Guns to retain the shotgun belt. This originally Bobby and Axeman, but turned into an impromptu shotgun title match. And again, another chance for Bobby Guns to wear that Werder Bremen shirt and piss off locals. Again, good match, and I think Bobby Guns very much at this point in his career was at the level of, he's more than relied on for a good match, but I do wonder if we're past the days where, if he's getting any reigns of titles, it's short term, quote unquote transition stuff. But he's now there to make the new generation look good and solidify them rather than it all being about him.
Yeah, it was the Bobby Guns match from the second night. It wasn't quite as good as the one from the night before for me. I think, but again, I think a lot of the hard work with Guns over the last month has been on the shotgun vlogs more rather than the events themselves, hasn't it?
Yeah. Who against Miyu Yamashita? This one for me was stuff. I liked it, but this for me was if we hadn't had the Zoltan thing a month or so earlier, this been fine. A lot of this was very much Ahura, both I guess out of honour, not wanting to attack Miyu Yamashita too much, but then it turned into the I'm too good, I don't need to do this, and then it ended up nearly costing him and biting the arse a few times. But yeah, I mean, there's a match. Yamashita, two really good matches in wXw this weekend. For me, it's more if this was effectively the last match people see of Ahura before his big title match. I'd have preferred it being a little bit more clear cut rather than him dicking around and almost sleepwalking into defeat, kind of.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think that's fair enough. But I went quite high on this one. I feel like it's. I think not the problem, but I'm just loving everything Ahura does at the moment. He's really sort of shot up in my estimation, and I completely forgot this match was happening. So I would like Ahura. I can't remember who hit the ring first, but then the other person hit them, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Look. So I was kind of, because I forgot this match was happening. It was everything. I sort of was hanging on everything for me.
It was one of those things got announced very early on when they were announcing the Hamburg weekend stuff. And again, it's one of those. On paper, why would this be the match? I mean, it made sense. I mean, it's a heck of a match, but it's like it wasn't like one of those where it's like last match before title shot. It's not one way to go. Oh, that makes sense. But it was a hell of a exhibition, so to speak. But yeah, again. wXw now hunt this one down. I think I was probably low out for two of us, but if 3.5's low, that tells you how good we both rated this one.
4 for me.
And again, for me, it was probably more of a whole. I didn't like just how much he was doing the "oops, I need lost," kind of stuff. But again, that's personal taste more than this being a bad match kind of thing.
You need to give in to the whimsy, because I loved that, and I also loved the tag match on night one. So we give in to it sometimes.
And then on the main event, 6-man tag, Peter Tihanyi and Greedy Souls beating Shigehiro Irie and Planet Gojira. Irie was having the time of his life in this main event. I mean, for basically, was, I wouldn't say party catch, because you're not going to be doing dives in the grunge band, not how close that crowd is to the ring. But it's like a finale for the weekender. It was enjoyable fun, even if nothing in this match was leading to immediate stuff in for future cards.
Yeah, I think this the final match was fine. It just didn't really grab me really, but it was a good sort of. It felt like a nice sort of close. It wasn't particularly it wasn't world class, but it sort of did the job. I think for this whole weekend.
Yeah, I think the big takeaway from the main event was, Forwerk, he's only got 1-2 matches officially as manager. He interfered, and while Tihanyi won the belt without any help, certainly every single step of the way since he's needed help from Forwerk, and it's just getting that underlining. Forwerk's not going to be there soon. Tihanyi, needs to step up to to do it on his own, and maybe he does lose next weekend. No, and then we have the whole Tihanyi's got to do it on his own after turning his back on everyone. I guess we'll see, but certainly, I would very much say a successful pair of shows in Hamburg, if only from an in ring standpoint, let alone crowd reactions, gates, etc., etc.
Yeah, I think it could have quite easily have just been one super card, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think all in all, it was really good stuff. I think from both of these shows, the night one was more of a must watch for me. But as I say, the Yamashita Ahura thing was sort of the other hit apart from what was on the first night. So
Yeah, it's also a case of like the the weekend as where it's just two shows. One always comes off as the stronger of the two. But yeah, definitely pair of shows if you've got the time and the subscription, well worth plonking down and watching. A couple of notes from the Shotgun vlog. So got Forwerk trying to do the trying to weasel out of the blue match. Dieter Schwartz bragging about being so close to wins. We've got Roman wanting one last shot at the tag titles, which we're getting the anniversary. And another interaction through Leah Bloom and Ahura there. Who often has helped Bloom to overcome Forwerk, but that seems to be uneasy alliance, I guess you'd say. But they're still keeping the dotted line between Bloom and Ahura despite everything this year. So today they uploaded the dog collar match from Frankfurt. So, that's a rivalry that's still, bubbling away in the background, even if right now it's more, uneasy respect, so to say. But, yeah, certainly right now, Tihanyi, who is the match, and Bloom very much waiting on the back burner again. But that is, of course, for the 25th anniversary show next weekend. A couple of news bits, and yeah, there's been a fair few announcements for 16 Karat Gold weekend since we last sat down to record, Mike. Where the bloody hell do we start? So I guess one thing we missed, so during that swing in East Germany, Limbach Oberthorn was meant to have had, was it the grind against Los Tranquilos de Japón, Bushi and Naito?
yes,
And that all fell through things like the day before. I think the long and short of it seemed to be Bushi and Naito, their business partner, didn't arrange things the way they wanted. Some suggestion that the paperwork may not have been in order. Let's talk, well, has that been a bridge burned? Well, no, because the following weekend they announced that Bushi and Naito were going to be back in XXW for Dead End in the Market Hall in February. Oh, and they're both going to be part of 16 Karat Gold, which I don't quite know how I feel about both of them being in the 16 Karat lineup. Like,
I think for me, it's a sort of, there's two sides to it. I think there's concerns about their place in the tournament being, I don't think it would be unfair to say that over the years they've come to Europe and they've not particularly put in the strongest of performances in all reality. And that's a very valid criticism. But I think equally you can look at it and say, well, in reality, Tetsuya Naito, in a sense, he's the biggest wrestler to ever do 16 karat, really, in a way, isn't it? In terms of like stature at that point in their career, to do as the only other person I could consider at that level, but he never did karat, was Kobashi. Like, because obviously Kobashi did the one off and thing, but there's short of I don't really know who you could get in at this point who would be at a equal or higher level, really.
yeah, because
short of getting somebody in from AEW, really, or something like that. If you used to get we sort of joked about me and a friend. We was joking about Cope Edge getting in. Like that's the sort of level, or Jericho or something. That's
Yeah.
the sort of level you're looking at. So yeah, I think on that sort of with that angle, it's a hell of a coup. I think we understand that the issues we mentioned, it was possibly a paperwork thing, but effectively he'd been misadvised by a new manager or something, and I think that now is that thing is now done with. Now it's been that relationship's been terminated, as what we understand.
Yeah, there's apparently the company got wound up or made or bankrupt or whatever you want to call it, and there's a new holding company for Los Tranquilos de Japón, their business, which again that's all behind the scenes stuff, but what could have been the stuff hitting the fan and the bridge being burnt, because the thing you've got to remember is Naito and Bushi, they left New Japan in May. Speculation at the time was, Naito wanted time off, but New Japan, they're literally a month away from losing Hiroshi Tanahashi. If he wanted a big retirement run, you're not going to get that when the Ace is having his retirement run. So
yeah,
and Naito and Bushi, they haven't worked anywhere else in Japan. They can't get a visa to work America, so by default, it's been Europe and I believe Singapore has been the only place they've worked.
The Pacific, yeah.
So, and again, there's I know there's been some weirdness, like they did. It's happened, I swear, but it hasn't been released for Rev Pro Trios Grand Prix. They had that thing where they teamed up with all people Trent Seven, and then coming out for weekend they had what's the lad's name?
That match wouldn't. That match isn't going to get released. It'll escape.
Well, night one has released. It's night two that 2+ months on hasn't made its way out of captivity. But they ended that weekend with a junior, Angel Angel Reyes, who RevPro booked once again, and then has never been mentioned since. Apparently, there's another another Japanese lad who they're adding to the group as their quote unquote young boy. So it's a bit weird. Yeah, I forget the lad's name, but so clearly they are building stuff up. But you would suspect that, certainly once Tanahashi's retirement's done, Knight will be back and he gets his retirement run. Because otherwise, why would you not work elsewhere in Japan? If the end goal wasn't a retirement run with,
there could be elements of sort of no competes. I think. If you was to look at this is completely irrelevant to WXW, but you look at the option of possibly Pro Wrestling Noah as being a reasonable sort of destination, there may be contractual reasons, because obviously Naito did kind of did his contract expire, or did he walk out on it?
It was contract expired for both of them.
Yeah.
Because I think they were negotiating, and then they just said nope, we're walking out, we'll have a contract run out. And that's where things got really shook upside down, because the stuff was being planned. It was around the same time Jeff Cobb left for WWE as well. Everything was just turned upside down. But so anyway, Bushi and Naito were part of Carrot next year, along with Titus Alexander. We'll touch on with something Titus is affiliated with as well over Carrot weekend. And one that really caught me by surprise, Eric Stevens. He's very much in the twilight of his career, but when I was first getting into the indies, it was a big name out for Ring of Honor, FIP. So I think that was a bit of a bucket list for him, because he was coming out of COVID. He'd had a run, then he retired to run that cookie shop in Florida. That didn't go well, and he's having one last retirement run. So he's going back to WXW. It's been a long time since his last appearance, but see what he can add to the table, because it's certainly so far a very eclectic lineup, and that's just the Carrot lineup. I mean, we've got now, what is it? Obviously, Bushi, Naito, Stevens, Alexander. That's on top of Yamato, Chihiro, Hashimoto, and Ares. So 7 out of 16. And we're probably going to get one, maybe two more over anniversary weekend. So,
well, we'll get at least one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Ambition. We kind of touched on this earlier. So, WXW announced that Ambition is not going to be a tournament this year. So, we're not going to get the short matches of 3 matches in one afternoon from someone. So you're not going to have the Ambition Trophy repurposed, so no one's going to be following after the likes of, Rico Bushido, Brian Danielson, Irie, A-Kid and his shoot Spanish Fly, Daniel Macapae. What we are getting, though, is effectively, how was it, as a Tetsujin, they did like the series of, just shoot style matches. So basically it's Ambition style, but it's all exhibition, so to speak. And the names you've got announced so far, A-Game Joseph Alexander from the States, Kev Lloyd, he's been around a few times of these.
Sexy Kev.
Sasakeel coming back. I know he did, was it the Extreme Wrestling Party last year? He was in briefly when they brought back Keel Holding for that one night. Henry Faust from my old neck of the woods, although thankfully not in black and white shirt. And announced this morning, which was weird because they normally drop these announcements after we record. The fuck's Minoru Suzuki doing in Ambition, Mike?
It feels like a booking that should have happened multiple times before already. But yeah, no, that's a. I have to admit, I do sometimes realise how privileged sort of I am, because for me I was like, oh, Suzuki, nice, because obviously being Revpro fans for many years, we've seen Suzuki. I'm in the double figures for Suzuki. I've seen him. I think I've seen him 3 times this year. So,
to be fair, you have been in Japan, though.
In fairness, yes, I did go to Japan, but for me, it's like I've seen Suzuki sort of at least once a year for the last sort of decade. So, but then I did kind of realize that like there was lots of people who were like, oh my god, Suzuki's in Germany, and it's like, oh well, yeah, when you think about it that way, that is quite cool. So.
The same thing with Naito and Bushi when they were announced for Pro Wrestling Grand Prix. Like for both of us was like, I mean, I skipped that main event because I knew that match.
I quite liked that match.
Yeah, that match I just didn't have a good feeling on. But yeah, I mean, like I say, these are guys who RevPro booked a lot. They're now hitting mainland. Well, Suzuki's done as a banger zone, so his first time with wXw in Germany. So I suspect if they do meet and greets, and I don't know how they shoehorn it in because Crowd Weekend is going to be rammed as it is. I suspect they're going to do pretty well if they do go down that meet and greet road. And hey,
and also in the comments of the Instagram post, somebody did ask, "Is it just for Ambition?" And wXw replied and says, "We're working on other stuff, so it won't just be for Ambition."
So.
Allegedly.
If it was just for Ambition, and you just had one choice of opponent, who would you go for?
I would. Well, I don't know his status, but I'd like Icarus. Icarus would be excellent.
I wouldn't think stylistically would work. I did see on the Voices Discord, Alan Farrell suggesting, via Sarah Farrell via Alan, Fast Time Mood, if only just gets head stoved in.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Yeah,
there's be a lot of those where oh god, I mean, things. If this was like Extreme Wrestling Party, one, it wouldn't be as good a fit, but it would be Norman Harris because that's the spot he always gets. The Friday midnight show. We had Nick Gage a couple of years back. He had Emerson Jane this year. So getting being the fall guy for Suzuki would fit, but I think if it's Ambition, you can't really do the comedy road. So yeah, I think whoever they get to that, they know that it's got to be someone who is befitting. So you're not going to get, all due respect, Norman. If they can get Icarus, I think for me that would be the quote-unquote dream match. But heck, even do Dieter Schwartz. But again, I don't know how much that would go in the whole, pulling Dieter into the bad guy who the crowd just really can't help but take to routine.
Yeah, I think I think I can totally see Norman Harris at some point tangling with Suzuki, being bullied like a young boy or something like that at some point over the weekend.
The Killer Cross routine. You young boy. Yeah. Well, that's be the Sunday morning, I suspect, if they go down that road. Elsewhere on the weekend, of course, they did announce over Pro Wrestling Grand Prix weekend, we've got the Independent Wrestling Summit. That's the Saturday morning after Wrestling Cult. So I guess we're going to have Carnage against Minoru Suzuki at the through chopping. I'm joking, but if they do announce it, I'll be going just out of weird, curiosity and sickness. But what we have had announced for Independent Wrestling Summit, one match and a couple of promotions. Spiderfly against Toxin. That's representing CVW Wrestling out of Mexico. Can't say I've ever heard of that promotion, but I've definitely heard of both those guys before from the Mexican Indies. So that's I guess they're spurring the lead. Fury Allman Pro to Stuttgart. They'll be presenting a match, but the big one, West Coast Pro. They're the last one standing out of the Deadlock, Prestige, obviously West Coast Pro Triumvirate. They're coming over. They're going to be, I think, there's a women's match and a men's match on the card. Obviously got Titus Alexander on the bill already. So I think this is the first real big, tie-in that West Coast Pro had with wXw since they announced it earlier this year. So yeah, that Independent Summit already it's looking like one you probably shouldn't be looking for a lion for to miss.
Yeah, no, it's there's some. I think the West Coast Pro thing is quite exciting. West Coast Pro did actually in the last week or so announce that they've got a sort of an official tie-in with St. Louis Anarchy and also, is it New Texas?
New Texas Pro, yeah.
New Texas, I think they already had a thing with anyway, but sort of St. Louis Anarchy is also now in that family. If you consider WXW also in that family, that's sort of four independent promotions with similar outlooks on what independent wrestling should be. I think there's a lot of independents which don't do the thing that independent wrestling should be doing. Not going to name them, but those certainly are sort of four companies. If they can all sort of work together, that it's certainly a lot more exciting prospect, I think, for fans of that type of thing.
I mean, certainly on the back of the news of Deadlock shutting down the new year and Prestige heading the same way. It's a shot in the arm as well, because I know there's a lot of dooming about the independents, and as much as people can point to, beyond do 2-3 weekly shows, great, but a lot of people beyond it's a turn off for them these days. GCW a turn off and kind of thing where you run so often it doesn't feel special. And hey, if we're going down the road of at least to actually does stuff professionally and in a way we like, I like having full cards for shows more than a couple of days beforehand, and bleed into what we know for the next weekend. We wrap up our 25th anniversary tour, so we have the show in Borken at the Stadthalle Vennerhof. I don't know if it's streaming live, but we've got most of the cards so far. Ricky Sosa against Peter Tihanyi, of course, non-title. Robert Dreisker against Manders, Aaliyah Bloom against Axeman, and Bobby Guns against Ahura. So maybe this is going to be one where there'll be some matches strip fed, given we just had Guns and Ahura in Hamburg, but certainly, what they've announced so far for Borgen, that's looking to be a really good warm-up show, if you want to consider it that. The big show, insert Paul White, he's not booked, sadly.
Damn it.
What we are getting over next night in Oberhausen, of course, the 25th anniversary tour finale. I think they announced, they're starting the show a little bit earlier. This is on Saturday, the 13th of December. Basically starting Fight Forever at close to the top of the hour rather than the bottom of the hour. So in Germany, Fight Forever starts 6:05, UK 5:05. We haven't decided what is on the Fight Forever shows, but you can probably make a decent guess based when you run through these matches. We'll start the bottom here. 10 out of 10 next level. That's, of course, Alex Duke and Alexander Bellamy against the Hype Dogs. Kuron Meko against KXS, Axeman and Muto against Metahan and Rambo, which, that's sure pointing towards a certain team with a shit name taking a beating.
You'd think so.
We've got a 16 gold Carrot qualifier, Shikahiro Irie against Bobby Guns, Dieter Schwartz against Stephanie Mays, Madison Marley against Jane Nero. We've got the street fight we mentioned previously, Aaliyah Bloom against Robin Christopher Forwerk, which all signs point to this being Forwerk being written out, but I am also still very scarred by the Forwerk Maggot street fight from last year. So, yeah,
Never
I'm going to have
underestimate them, is what I'd say.
Yeah. Well, if I don't see Margaret or Baby Allison, my PTSD won't be coming back. But we also have one Called Manders against Timothy Thatcher, which there's one that popped off the page when they announced that.
Yeah.
Two beloved wXw imports is maybe not the right word, but Americans who came in.
The biggest American name of the 2010s versus the biggest American name of the 2020s, really.
Yeah, two guys who became wXw regulars and took the company to heart, and the fans reciprocated, which at the very least, that should be an interesting insight into how the two can work for each, because two very different styles that especially go to form. European title, of course, that was vacated after. We will not mention about Maris Alani. You can certainly use Google if you wish. But that belt is going to be filled in a four-way between Leon Slater, Zoltan, Joseph Fenech Jr. and Ricky Sosa. We have got an open challenge for the shotgun title, which certainly is screaming the Hector flags coming back in Oberhausen. The World Tag titles, we've got yet again Planet Gojira against the Grind, which is the last time ever, I suspect. And then, of course, the Unified World Wrestling title, Peter Tihanyi defending against Ahura. And yeah, the anniversary shows always are like a long one to wrap up the year, but they've got this card stuffed, Mike.
Yeah, and they've also said that there's going to it's starting an hour earlier because they're going to put multiple matches on Fight Forever.
Which, again, I suspect people at four-way tag and maybe Maze Schwartz, maybe, or they add another one. Guess we'll see.
Yeah.
After that, of course, we've got, again, this is just like the bit part stuff. We've got Heat and the Wrestling Academy. That's the usual end of year wrap-up show. I don't know if we're going to be streaming this one live. I know in the past they did used to stream it and, donate money to charity. I think right now these are just for the live crowd only, which is what it is. Then going into the new year, we've got a bunch of dates: Rufen, Munster, Bielefeld. Before back, so Bielefeld is Wheel of Wrestling 72. So that one will be live, and again, way too early to have cards, but they have announced Cappuccino Jones, the current WWID Men's Champion, is going to be on the card. Okay. Back to the Roots 2026 in the Turbine Hall in Oberhausen. I know, again, we're way off this, but is this the year we don't get the Kayfig Schlacht? Because, there's been a lot of chatter lately about, the cons of having matches because the calendar says it's that time of year for one.
Yeah.
I mean, we had, Tihanyi and Leah Bloom last year. Do we do a Huron Bloom as the big old blow-off for that?
I think if you do Ahura Bloom, I mean, ultimately the story I think to be told with Ahura and Bloom is if Ahura can win the belt at anniversary, first time out, you basically done what Bloom hasn't been able to do in how many times have they had the match?
Oh God, yeah, it's at this point it feels like too many. We said if not shots, but definitely cracks. I mean, they both came up short against Manders, but against Tihanyi, Bloom has he's had the matches on paper, but it's all been ripped away from him. And again, now with the contract stuff, you're not allowed to do it. Whether that changes after Forver goes away, we'll see.
Yeah, so there's a that's I mean that for me that's the natural story to be told, isn't it?
Then after Back to Roots, we've got Road 16 Karat Gold. That's in Leipzig. So to suspect that will be where they do the usual tournament for one or two spots in Karat. We've got Dead End 2026 for Marktal in Hamburg. That's, of course, with Bushi and Naito. And then, my God, it's Karat season again, Mike. Inner Circle Homecoming at the Turok in Essen, March 5th. That is now sold out. So if you wait too long, you're going to have to find something else to do that Thursday night. And, of course, all the shows in Oberhausen, 6th, 7th, 8th of March. So, Christmas is a couple of weeks away, but 3 months' time, we'll be back in Oberhausen for, wrestling's version of Christmas.
Well, I will be in Oberhausen next weekend for WXW 25th anniversary.
Well, for more than a couple of days, but yeah, so 25th anniversary next weekend. Live, Triller, well, unless they go under by the time this goes out. WXW now as well. Hell of a card, but Mike, what put you on the spot. What are you looking forward to from the 25th anniversary card, from what's been announced?
I'm really looking forward to. For me, I'm looking forward to the main event, Ahura Tihanyi. Also looking forward to Manders Tim, for sure. And I think Irie Guns has got a good chance of being quite good. I'd like Irie to get into Carrot again, especially because I just like him being around. So yeah, for me, it's those three are the things I'm really excited for.
I think Irie not being in Carrot this 2025 felt very weird, just in terms of being part of the furniture and just not suddenly being there. The European title four-way for me could be interesting, but that belt just right now feels ultra cursed. I don't know. I mean, the fact that two of the holders of it so far, just debuted. One got a new name, which Leo Lefleur, like that name generator needs to be put out of its misery. And of course, Mike D is just working under his real name, but. Yeah, I don't know. Leon Slater gets the European belt, then pops from NXT at the end of next. Well, he's already been there, but contract by the end of next year maybe. But yeah, Manders Thatcher, I think, is one where I think for sentimental reasons is going to jump out, and of course, whatever the heck happens with Tihanyi and who in the main event, I think that very much could signpost where wXw goes in 2026.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think I'm just looking forward to it. I plan to go to anniversary in 2020, the 20th anniversary. So, but then obviously once we got that didn't happen for a number of reasons, as I'm sure we're all aware. But yeah, the 25th anniversary, it was kind of a must see for me, because I was like, I feel I need to be there for that. And I've always wanted to do the anniversary one, and this year it was just the right date, because it was far enough away from Christmas that it wasn't like I was. The last couple of years, it's been the weekend before Christmas. And
yeah,
it's
I mean, it was last year. It was like the 23rd, and
it was the 23rd a few years ago. Yeah,
I was looking, going, it's like I can get out, but the flight back can be like more than what I spend, more than it cost me to do the whole Carrot week. It's like, nah, my stream will be okay. But I did the 19th anniversary, obviously 2019, before everything shut down. The anniversary show's definitely a much different flavour than any other shows, ad hoc shows I've done for wXw outside the weekenders. Yeah, certainly it's both setting the table for New Year and also tying the bow on a lot of stuff. But you'll see how this goes. Be a nice long show with plenty of stakes as well. And yeah, see how it goes. But Mike, before you head off to overseas, I guess, next weekend, where can folks find you on social media?
You can find me on everything at Mike Kilby, MikeKiLby, and Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky as well, occasionally. Yeah, that's where you can find me. Occasionally, and I say very occasionally, I'm not going to do a schedule, very, very occasionally streaming on twitch.tv as well. Twitch.tv /Cerberus Forsyth, Cerberus Forsyth. Mainly just streaming European wrestling, but I'm not got a really good schedule on that at the moment. But hey, if you follow me, you'll see when I do stream very occasionally, and yeah, come and hop in the chat.
You have no idea how much it's. Oh, fuck it. So when people find you, do they have to say "nice to see you" nice?
Yeah, they're very welcome to do that. I will respond in kind.
Anyone outside of Britain who doesn't get that, yeah, just
listen. The reason
it's not a joke. You've got to explain it.
Is well, the reason why I'm Cerberus Forsyth, because it confused the hell out of Robert Drysdale. World Tag Team Festival World Tag Team League 2017. That's why I'm called that. So.
I do wonder if he's watched play cards right since then.
Well, he has a
generation
game. Well, he had a T-shirt with my face and Cerberus Forsyth on it for a while.
God, I remember, yes,
because he did design it. So yeah.
And now it's the Heart Foundation. So I really need to get hold of those. But anyway, held you all listening long enough. Thanks for listening. If you aren't already subscribed on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, other podcast apps, YouTube as well. We'll be back just before Christmas with a 25th anniversary review. And we'll see what the new year holds. We have plenty upcoming course, Back to the Roots, Dead End, Carrot. We'll see how it all pans out. But thanks for listening, everyone. Have a good Christmas if you don't listen to us our next episode, and see you in the new year. Cheers.
Cheers.